Fear of taking responsibility for your life can be paralyzing. Knowing that you have agency to make good and bad decisions comes with pressure and expectation. If you don't learn to manage yourself well with the weight of responsibility, you can't fully thrive in life. What's up, Black Man? I'm Jamal Calpin. Welcome to the Beneficial Black Man channel, where we focus on conquering and overcoming gray mediocrity so that we can become more beneficial for our community by discussing faith, personal development, and emotional and mental health management. I'm your host, Jamal Calpin. So, with this topic, this idea came from watching watching the Netflix series Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story. And so I know a lot of men probably haven't watched that show because I don't think it's necessarily directed towards us as a demographic, but it was still a pretty good show. I was watching it with my family, watching it with my wife and my mother-in-law, and I started watching it with. We were out of town. We were watching the show, and yeah, so it has like this, I guess, Elizabethan British feel to it, kind of like what you call it, like Pride and Prejudice kind of stuff. And it was an interesting show, right? And so, of course, the concept is that you have more or less a black woman being married into a royal family. And so I can't remember exactly where she's from, but she's black. She's not white, right? And or African. And so she is being married into this family, and they're having a lot of issues out front, right? And so it goes on and on or whatever. So this prince that she's been married to, so that he becomes king, and she becomes queen. They're having all these issues, and come to find out that the King George, has pretty much the way that I understood it and the way that I saw it, that he has mental health issues, and to me it seems like he has really paralyzing anxiety, so that in such a way he struggles to do public speaking, he struggles to do everything, and it just sends him on these crazy fits, right? And throughout the show, in his attempt to try to fix it, he goes through like really crazy, like it's really traumatic torture to try to fix his anxiety so that he can be the king that he's supposed to be. And I think this is relevant because really, from what I saw and the way that the show went on, his anxiety came from the pressure of having to be king of England, having to take that pressure from his childhood, knowing that he's going to have to rule over a nation, a nation of people. And that pressure can make anybody crack. People struggle with doing public speaking, talking to a room full of 10 to 15 people. So I can't imagine, even if this is in a fantasy world or fantasy reality, I can't imagine having to rest all of a nation on your shoulders. Of course, that's going to lead to some anxiety. And so that's what he wrestled with. He wrestled with the anxiety of having to rule a people that honestly he didn't even really want to do, but because of his bloodline, because he was next in line to be king, George, who he kind of described himself as half king, half farmer, and at some points, half of a man because of this mental health that he struggled with. I'm trying to remember the language that they kind of described his madness. And to me, again, it was just anxiety, like intense, super intense, paralyzing anxiety. And as men, I think we get that same kind of anxiety, especially in the society that we live in now. Very often, as black men, we aren't being trained and, I don't want to say groomed, but trained and developed to be good leaders. We're not, for various different reasons, whether it's lacking good images in our community, lacking good images in our society, lacking good images in our home. Sometimes a lot of us come from households where the father wasn't there, or if he was there, he wasn't that good of an example of a man that we would want to become. And so when we get to adulthood, And we find out, one, that we got to take care of ourselves. We got to take care of ourselves. We have to have all these responsibilities. And then you mix in ambitions and careers, and then you want relationships, and then community. You know, get to a certain age and you find out, well, yeah, black man, there's a lot going on in your community that you're held responsible for. That can be paralyzing. That can be like, wait a minute. I I just want to sit down, eat good food, maybe watch some anime and play video games. Where did this come from? Why didn't anybody tell me? Like, why didn't anybody equip me for this? And it sucks. And I've mentioned that before, and other videos that like we are in a position where it's not our fault. It's not always our fault, but it is our responsibility. There's a privilege that comes with this XY chromosome. As much as we may not want it, and as much as sometimes people want to flex with it to say like, oh, because I'm a man, because I'm a male, because I have this XY chromosome, you have to respect me. You have to give me all of this appreciation and accolades. You have to submit to me. That's not how this works. Like, even though a privilege comes to you, especially in this patriarchal society, you have to do the work and take the responsibility of serving and leading well. And I get it. There is tons of pressure with that. Tons of pressure to say, I do want to get married. I do want to have a spouse. I do want to have a wife. But there's responsibility that comes with that. Responsibility to say, this woman, I'm taking full responsibility for making sure she's safe, providing for her, protecting her, you know, trying to lead her and support her and encourage her the best that I can. That's a lot of weight, especially if you're not thinking about it, especially if you're not truly preparing for it and you don't have good examples to help you to know what it means to be a husband, what it means to be a man, to be a servant leader. It's a lot of weight, but that's okay. You were designed for this. Even in even in the cosmic decision for your chromosomes to come out XY, for you to be uh, designed a man, designed a male, it was on purpose. And so, even though there's a lot of paralyzing weight to it, even though you are called to be a king, even though you're called to be a protector and a provider, and it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to a marriage relationship. It could just be in your community. It could be in your family, you know, protecting and being there for your brothers and sisters, for your parents, for your nieces and nephews, for the young boy that lives down the street that you know, that's part of your church, part of your community, whatever. You have a responsibility. It can be big or small, but that responsibility that comes with the privilege of your existence can be weighty. And there are three things I want to share that I think one helped me, and I feel like could have helped King George in this situation, um, because that anxiety is real, because that weight is real, and I can understand why a lot of men don't want to deal with it. They don't want to do that work, but we got to, because our community needs us. And if we don't do it, if we don't learn how to self-manage ourselves with the responsibility that comes with this journey and this call to be beneficial men in our community, we can't be our best selves. We will, kind of quoting the show, will always just be half a king, half a man, half a version of ourselves. And we don't want to live like that. And one of the things that, I kind of didn't like about the show was that all this weight was placed on this black woman to save an empire, more or less. She had to bear the next heir. She had to deal with a husband she didn't know anything about. She has to deal with all this stuff. And, she's just being betrothed or married off for the sake of so many others outside of herself. And it happens so often with women in our community, taking on the brunt and the weight because there's so many half kings out there who aren't doing what they're supposed to do, or who aren't equipped to serve well. But the three things that I would suggest is like, first, you got to take your time in managing what you already have. Take time to manage what you already have. And as an example, if you're, say, somebody, you're a college student, do your best to just manage your studies. Don't worry about the next thing. Don't worry about what's going to happen to you after, immediately after college or anything like that. Focus on doing your best with what you already have. Too often, we take on too much because we're thinking so much in the future. And that's what happens with anxiety. You're so compelled and so interested and so focused on what could happen in the future that you're not present. And that happens to me too. Like, if I think about bills that need to get paid, or I feel like what's going to happen next month or whatever, I stop from being my best self in the present, stop from being the best self in the now. But what we have to do is manage the now, focus on the now, because that's all we can control. The better we get at managing the now and making sure we're controlled and stable and focused and being as diligent with what is already in our hands, the better we can steward more to come. So, right now, manage what you can right now. And a lot of people had to learn how to do that, especially during the pandemic. Like, just to get day by day being quarantined, you just can only focus on the right now, focus on what's right in front of you. So, yeah, that would be the first thing. Take your time to manage what you already have, like what you can right now in front of you. The second thing is ask for help. Ask for help. Now, that is so crucial because I think as men, we aren't good at doing that. We are not good at doing that. We are not good at asking for help and admitting that we need help. And continuing to use King George as this example, I think two things happen. Either we get sheltered away from the responsibilities that we have. Like, so in the case of King George in the show, and again, I would recommend you watch it if you have a spouse or a girlfriend and she hasn't already watched it. I'm sure she would be thrilled to watch it with you, unless she's just not interested in that. But sit down and watch the show. It's eight episodes. Yeah, check it out. It's 8 episodes or whatever. It can be kind of cheesy, but it's still kind of good. Anyways, but King George, very often, because of his condition, his madness, and again, I think it was just paralyzing, crippling anxiety. His mom would shelter him from a lot of stuff. Um, she was just like, he's like my special little boy. Even though he's a grown man and he was becoming king, she constantly sat as the go between from the outside world in him, never really equipping him to learn how to deal with it, learn how to manage his mental health problems. And again, at that time, of course, there aren't a lot of studies about that. And so that's that. You can shelter yourself away from actually doing the work that you're supposed to do and doing what you're called to do. And the other thing is, you can ask for the wrong help. So the help that he was getting was from this wacko doctor that was trying to pretty much use like torturing techniques to more or less get the anxiety or get the madness out of him. It was really like beating it out of him. He would like put hot irons on him, dunk his head underwater, like beat him with stuff. This process of making progress through pain didn't really help him at all. But ultimately, what helped him was his wife. His wife being there and being supportive of him helped him to do the things that he needed to do. Like near the end of the series, he had to make like a public announcement for at an event that they were having, like a ball or whatever. And she stood there by his side and he spoke. Ask for help. Ask for help from people who actually really want to help you, who want to help you to grow. They don't want to shelter you away. They don't want to cause you pain and actually destroy you, but they actually want to help you be the best version of you. They will support you. They will give you the equipment and the tools that you need to stand on your own so that you can handle your responsibilities. We all need help. We all need people to support us and help us along with the things that we may be deficient in. It's true. Like, yes, as men, we have responsibilities that we need to uphold. But we're not going to know all of it, everything, perfectly every time. We have to grow, we have to mature, we have to get wisdom, and we have to get help. And along with that, you have to learn how to better talk to yourself. And the reason I put this one in here, like having better self talk, is that when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to fear, even when it comes to just taking on that responsibility as a man, the way that we look at ourselves and the way that we talk about ourselves makes it difficult for us to actually stand up and do the things that we need to do. So what I mean by that is, like, if you constantly believe that you cannot do something, if you believe that you're a failure, if you believe that you are the worst of the worst, if you have negative self-esteem and negative self-worth about yourself, that will hinder you. That will hinder you from thriving. And that will add to the anxiety. It will add to the depression. And there are so many things that we have over time adopted. Negative thoughts, like saying, I can never get this right. Or I can't do public speaking. Or I can't do this, or I can't do that. I remember growing up, my dad used to say, never, ever, ever say can't. And it's only until, like, reaching into my adulthood, realizing the impact of that. Because there's so many times that I've said, and I've almost ingrained negative thinking into me, that it has hindered me. It has been a form of self-sabotage that has kept me away from serving as a beneficial Black man. It has hindered me from loving my wife well. It has hindered me from showing up and supporting others and being my best self. So you got to change how you talk to yourself. Replace that stuff. Replace those negative phrases that you say with yourself with positive affirmations. Instead of saying like, yo, I'm a loser, or whatever, just like, no, I'm a winner, yo. And even though it feels like it may not have manifested yet, the more you say it to yourself and you make an effort day by day, moment by moment, to get to that better place, it changes you. It encourages you. It gets embedded in your subconscious, and it helps you to become a better version of yourself. So yeah, you gotta make sure that you focus on managing what's right in front of you. Manage what you can. Ask for help. And change the way that you're talking to yourself. Because Black man, you're here for a reason. You're here for a reason. To live for glory and for good, and to pursue joy that is specifically designed for you. And the only way we can do that is to manage this weight and this responsibility that has been given to us well. It's challenging, it's difficult, but you can do it. If you make sure that you focus on managing and handling the things that are right in front of you, ask for help when you need it, and make sure to speak confidently and speak positive things about yourself. You can do it. I believe in you. So I appreciate you watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also go check out episode 19 of the Beneficial Black Man podcast, because that topic will continue to work on and build on this concept of our responsibility as Black men. Because we have a responsibility, and we're called to leave a mark on this world and leave a mark on those around us. But Black men, continue to stay safe, find time for an emotional release valve, protect your mental, and keep striving to become beneficial. Talk to y'all later. Peace.